Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. I'm Shane. Thank you guys so much for joining me and Sarah Walsh today. How are you doing, Sarah?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. How are you?
No problem. Well, I want to say right off because some people tune out right away. Sarah Walsh has a YouTube channel you can join. Links in the description below. And the channel is called Heart
Open
Healing?
Heart Healing.
Open Heart Healing. Okay,
hmm
perfect. All right, so I recently tried something new. I was telling people about the new thing I was trying in the BQH sessions, which worked really cool on yours, and you were the first person I tried it on, where I came up with like random things to ask before the session even began, like a movie and a song. Um, Body of water, was that for you or no? Building. I think I did
Building.
building
Yep.
for you, right?
Yep.
Anyway, five random things, and that's random too. So whatever pops in my head, I sort of like usually have a song and a movie, but the other things I kind of just whatever kind of pops in my head while I'm writing them down, and then during the session, after the questions are answered, I ask her higher self, why was those answers given during the session or before the session. So we've gotten some interesting results that really, let's talk about Ferris Bueller's Day Off because that's probably one that will apply to everyone because that's hilarious. It's like you hadn't just watched it or anything, right? I mean, it like just
No.
popped in your head, right?
hmm
And the
Yep.
message of that movie, I'll let you talk about that.
All
It's
right.
just having a
Yeah, it
good
was
time,
interesting.
right?
It was interesting when you were asking me those things because you asked me and like I would get the answer like so fast. I was like before I even like processed what you were asking me, like I was already getting the answer. So that was really cool. Like
Yeah,
to see that my higher self was like right on it. And it was,
yeah.
yeah, it just shows how quantum everything is because like there, I didn't have time to even process what you were saying to me. But yeah, so you asked about a movie and I got Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and then you asked, did you ask in the session, didn't you? What,
Yeah, and then in
why?
the session,
Remember? Yeah, that was in the session. Then, oh, I wish I
did
had
you
watched my
find
session.
do you find it? Oh, you didn't
I,
watch the whole thing yet?
well, I watched. No, I did, but I didn't watch it right. I should have watched it like yesterday or today again to like
Oh
refresh.
yeah, I was just telling
Remember?
you.
Because
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's like,
what did I say about that? It was,
but it was more about like he was sort of breaking out of the routine, the almost like the grind and the matrix of life, and just
yeah,
really making it like the best day, every day like that. Really making the
right.
best of every single day of your life, rather than being trapped in whatever it is, and to really just enjoy life because a lot of us get stuck.
hmm Yeah, I
So
think it was. I think that was one of those movies. After getting that information from the session of what I did, is that I think that that's one of those movies that was put into the collective consciousness to activate us. Do you know what I mean? Because
oh yeah, like
in my session,
Avatar and
yeah,
stuff.
like I never thought about Ferris Bueller's Day Off in the way that my session that it came through. I was like, oh my gosh, I never even realized that that was what it was. But yeah, it was that Ferris recognized the systems of the Matrix and how they were oppressive, right, and inverted, and like not the way that life is supposed to be. And so he was like, screw that, I'm skipping school and I'm gonna go live my life and have fun. And
Yeah,
because after my session and I thought back about the movie, I should watch it again, the movie now, with having this revelation
yeah,
about it. Maybe I'll watch it with my boys. But just like how he talks about all the isms, he talks about like political things in the movie. But like I
yeah,
was a kid when it came out, when I watched it, I was too young to really understand what he was saying or
yeah,
what he was talking. But I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. Like there is all these clues in the movie of like
yeah.
trying to teach us like this isn't the way, this isn't the natural way of things or the way life should be or whatever.
That
So
was one of my
yeah.
favorite childhood movies growing up.
Well, mine too. That's why, like, I wasn't surprised when that, like, my hair self gave me that movie, but I was like, I don't know why. Like, it just came up, like you said, I hadn't just watched it or anything like that, and it came to me so fast. And then, yeah, it was like, oh, I had no idea that that movie had like such a deeper meaning, and
Yeah,
like really had a lot more of a life lesson than I realized.
yeah. I had no idea either. I'm thinking I'm getting tips to be more of a rebel or whatever. But then Jesus was a rebel, right? And I'm trying to be like Jesus, which is a great segue into Jesus coming through in your session, because
Yeah.
you were. There was this one point where you were talking about how like you had cursed your hair, and then you started having hair loss after that, and it came through in your session. That's why that you had actually cursed your hair, and we'll talk about why you cursed your hair in a moment. But as soon as you were saying that, I got this the scripture Jesus talked about cursing the fig tree popped in my head. And as soon as I said that back to you, Jesus popped into the session, which was awesome. So we have a lot of people that love Jesus like we love Jesus, not in so much of the, more the rebel way or more the role model way, I should say.
Right.
So let's back up and talk about why you cursed your hair to begin with.
Okay. So
Just as much, I mean, you can just kind of touch on, what had happened or whatever.
I thought it's such a complicated situation. This whole year has kind of all been interwoven together into the storyline of my life of what's happening to me. But essentially, I got sick with.
COVID. You could say, yeah.
Okay, I was like, I don't know.
Everybody's saying it now, so it's fine.
Okay,
We just
yeah,
can't say that.
okay, that's what I thought. But then I was like, I didn't ask you that beforehand. It was like, yeah. So I got sick with COVID, which in and of itself was a fluke thing, kind of, because my immune system was so good. I shouldn't have even really gotten sick, and my boys got it and they barely got sick, and anyway. But it was meant to be. Like I had to go through that experience. There was a greater meaning for that experience than what happened. But so I got sick anyway. I got very sick. I got deathly, like I almost died, and it turned into pneumonia, and I almost died. So when I was sick, I could barely shower, or like showering just took more than I even had in me. And I would have to, my hair was like down to here, and it was like over twice as thick as it is now because I've lost so much now. But so I was like trying to comb through my hair, and it was so hard to do when I was sick. It was like, and so I said, oh, why do I have so much hair? I wish I didn't have all this hair. Like I specifically said that like out loud. And then,
while you're in the bed sick.
Yeah. Like while I was so sick. Yeah. I was just like, oh gosh, I wish I didn't have all this hair to deal with. Like was just terrible. Like I can't, people are going to be like, what are you talking about? It was a thing. It was like a whole thing for me. I was like, it was like hard enough just to shower. That's how ill I was. Yeah. To try to comb through all of this. It was so much. And yeah. So I was like, so I cursed it. And I said, I wish I didn't have all this hair. And then, well, now I don't.
Well, I'm glad you were positive about it.
Lesson learned.
So, and the lesson was that you cursed it, and then after that, your hair started falling out. It could be COVID related too, of course.
Well, yeah, it was COVID related. It is COVID related, but
right. But it's almost like I don't know, you add your intention in with something, and it makes it more potent, right?
Right.
Sort of like Jesus cursing the fig tree.
That's right.
He's
That's right.
Like,
it was a lesson for me. It was a lesson to teach me that, like,
the power of our words.
Yeah, and that I'm manifesting a lot more than I was before I had COVID, and because COVID gave me an upgrade, basically, is how it was explained kind of to me. And that, I have to be very, very mindful and be very, like, make sure my energy is good and that my thoughts are good and my, just to be very mindful and careful about what I'm saying, because I can manifest things.
Even with sickness and stuff nowadays, I don't ever say I'm sick. I say my body's fighting something off, or I think I'm fighting something off.
Just that's perfect.
Because it puts it in that positive direction of getting better rather than, I'm going the other direction, right? So, so that I find that's helpful.
Absolutely, it's very important to be mindful of our self-talk. I'm like real careful now.
So let's talk about, because in my Mandela Effect conference, I told you how I was getting the balancing of the divine masculine and the divine feminine and right now, and how many of our viewers feel like they sort of embody that divine feminine. I feel like I'm more balanced as a male than, a lot of men or whatever, as far as that's concerned. But I know a lot of women bring powerful divine feminine energy in right now. And it does seem to be a return. And Jesus kind of brought this up in the session about how there's this return of the divine masculine, the real divine masculine, not this distorted version, because we've had this distorted version running things, right? Yep. But with the balance of the feminine, you get the real return of Jesus, so to speak. Not maybe in the clouds as we think, but available to us within our own heart,
Right. Yep.
So is there anything you can add to that with the session or anything?
Well, I guess I can go a little bit of my backstory of um,
The idea of a twin flame and stuff. A lot of people like that idea too. If you want to kind of briefly touch on that,
okay. Um,
sort of like becoming whole again. You know what I mean?
yeah. So about I would say it was probably about 3 weeks before COVID shut the world down. My masculine. So back up a little bit. I used to have too much masculine energy for me.
Hmm.
You need a lot of masculine energy to survive in this world, and especially like women, we are forced to have more masculine energy in order to survive, to take care of ourselves, and to be independent and whatever. And but there's an imbalance in the world. There was too much masculine energy, and not the healthy kind, you know,
Right.
in the world. And I've known this for years, and I knew that part of my mission here for this life was to help bring the divine feminine energy back to the planet. So I was always like, I remember getting into an argument with my grandmother about God being female, being feminine and masculine. And I triggered, whoa, did I trigger her? She freaked out on me. And I was like, oh, well, okay then, but like I've always had that like really strong, like knowing like that there's a feminine side to God, and she's being neglected and she's being completely written out and all this thing. So I knew that was like part of my mission. But so I had gotten but so anyway, I used to have too much masculine energy, and then I worked on balancing my energies, and I had them a good balance for me, which I'm not really a numbers person, but if I had to put a number on it, I'd say for me, a good balance is probably 60% feminine, 40% masculine. Whereas I think I was before kind of like a 50-50, but that was too much masculine for me.
Hmm.
So I got them balanced, and I thought, oh, good. Like I thought, oh, I'm good to go. Like I'm good. And then 3 weeks before COVID hit, boom, my masculine just took off. Like I had no more. Like it took me a couple months to figure out what was going on, because I just knew that I was different. I knew I felt different, but I didn't understand it or what. And then I was slowly beginning to realize, oh, I don't have any masculine energy anymore. Like I couldn't do physical labor. I couldn't use my brain, the left side of my brain anymore. Like I was just all in this feminine. So for like a year and a half, I sat in this feminine energy, and that was part of the me anchoring the feminine for the planet, because it was like I was helping to bring that more of that feminine to help the balance of for the whole collective. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so I didn't, yeah. So a year and a half, I was only in feminine, which was this huge struggle for me, but part of part of my mission. And so it was okay. But that was why I got COVID, was to allow my masculine to start walking. Like I had a walk-in, is how it's described to me, as a walk-in of my masculine energy.
Right.
And that's why I got COVID, was so that the masculine could come back in, but that it's slow. He's slowly coming back, because like it would be too much to have it, too overwhelming to have it all come at once or whatever. So I think like a big chunk of it like came when I was really sick, when I was in that, I call it the void space.
Hmm.
When I was sick, it was like I was in this dark place of like nothingness. And anyway, so but that, yeah, that, so now, which to me is a good sign for the world too, of like if my masculine is coming back, that means that the energies are changing and that things are moving, or something is happening anyway on a
Right.
grander scale. Like the fact that what happened, like as within so without, right? Like what happens inside of us gets reflected into the world um on the outside too. So I take that as a good sign of like something's happening and something's moving. If my masculine is coming back now, that
Right.
means that things are changing.
Do you feel like it could have been like a dark night of the soul, or they talk about the hero's journey where you feel like the death and resurrection, sort of like the story of Jesus himself, you know what I mean, where he went to the grave and reemerged
Yeah.
again, and you actually thought you were going to die. You
Mm-hmm.
before that you were warned that get your life in order, and then so you were expecting a car wreck or something quick, so when it came down to COVID, you were like, I don't want to go out like this. And then, have people thinking it's because I should have got this. And,
Mm-hmm.
we can kind of use gestures. But
Yeah.
she didn't want
Right.
to be a statistic that's used for, to get people to make not good choices. Let's just put it that way.
Right. Yeah.
So,
And that, yeah, that was intentional. I think I feel like that my higher self set me up to, because I said, like I said, I never anticipated that I would get COVID and get sick, because I hadn't been sick for over 5 years of any
yeah.
kind. Like I had
Hmm.
such a good immune system. that I didn't,
Now it's even
you know,
better.
and what's that?
I said, now it's even better.
Yeah, well,
Right?
right. Well, it's like, it was like a big, I mean, that was a big physical trauma and the emotional trauma to go through. That whole experience was, but yeah, now I'm coming back. But yeah, I know that that's why they gave, you know, that's why they chose my higher self and whoever else, my guides and whatever, like arranged it for it to be COVID because like, I just, yeah, I was like, I just can't let that be how I go.
Right.
You know, like that gave me just a little bit like to hang on because, um, as I know, I already told you, Shane, that like I was given the choice to leave. I
Hmm.
could have chosen to leave, and I was about to choose to leave because I had prepared to leave, and then I heard
That
the
starseed stubbornness kicks in, I think, like we all
yeah. Well, I heard
have.
like it was all the love of the people had for me. Like people came out of the woodwork kind of in when I got sick, and my mom. I'm not real too close with my mom, but she was, you know, calling and texting me every day, which I could barely even handle that. But it was so nice, and that people were, and my friend and a couple friends actually, you know, would check on me every day, and it was them and seeing their reaction to me being that close to death of I said I can't leave. I
Hmm.
can't leave now, you
Right.
know? Like I don't know what's happening with the world, but and also I did also get the feeling that if I left then I was leaving right before the big show.
Right.
And I was like gonna be like really mad that I was on the other that I wasn't here for it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah,
So
I can totally see it happening right now. It's like more and more I've been being shown how like they can hijack all like any kind of media, right, that there is, but they can't hijack the that divine spark within. And that if everyone would stop being distracted, it's almost like they got like this little monkey show going on, right? And they're like, look over here, don't pay
uh-huh.
attention to your heart or what's within because the gig's up. As soon as people start going within and they tap into the truth that we all have within, you don't have to go search for it or anything. Because when I
Right.
tap into that, I see this beautiful transformation taking place right now. Sure, it looks chaotic out there, but I see momentum moving so much in this upward direction of that's why that stuff's being exposed and looking so horrible
Yep.
right now is because the truth's coming out, you know, and people are figuring it out and all of that. But that has to happen to move forward. So from where
Mm-hmm.
I sit when I go within meditation, there's nothing to worry about right now in the world. People should just be patient, watch the stuff play out, and
Mm-hmm.
stand their ground, of course, if they're in situations or whatever. But to allow it to play out and not to jump the gun about anything. And if you are pushed out of your situation, look at it as a good thing. You know,
Right.
it's like you're getting prepared to do something else. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So you're so
Absolutely.
so on your channel. I want to let people know you do tarot readings.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do them live or
No, I record them because
that's
I
cool,
have a I told you as I told you like the reason we're not doing this live is because I get so nervous
right?
to do things live. I get very, very nervous. So um I try to avoid doing live things as much as possible, but I can record a video, no problem. Like I don't have any, you know, like when I do my record my videos for my channel, I'm not nervous at all. I love it. It's fine. But boy, if I was doing that with people looking at me, nope. It would be a whole different thing. So that's just my thing that I have to deal with. So yeah, I just record the videos and then upload them onto YouTube. And it's usually tarot and oracle card readings. I channel messages from my higher self
Nice.
through, you know, just using the cards are just the way that the my higher self can give me the messages
Right.
more easily. Because I mean, my higher self always gives me messages, but I don't know if I could just sit. If I tried, I don't know if I could just sit and channel messages. But I do it for myself all the time, so
Right.
probably I could. But I use the cards anyway. But then I also sometimes do light language videos. I started speaking light language in July of 2020. Is when my light language was activated, and so I do some light language videos, and also sometimes I get messages from Jesus that I'm supposed to share, and so then I'll do videos about that or other random things. But it's mostly the card readings because I enjoy doing those. I like to see the messages that come through with the cards. It's fun.
That's one thing that when I was in religion or whatever, I was you were forbidden to do anything like that. But now I
Yeah.
realize like
whenever you tap into the randomness, like a card falling out, because you have no control
Mm-hmm.
over that, or like we did with it, it's really not much different than the list thing I was doing. I mean,
Right.
it's
Yep.
the same concept. It's like see what pops
Absolutely.
out.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
and even the whole BQH sessions really like that. It's like a lot of the people I work with are like you, where they're there and conscious the whole time, not in some sort of trance or where you don't remember it, but very
Right.
clear and precise. And it's almost like I act as their left brain, and then I say something, and then it just it pops through. So that's why I think it's such an excellent tool, because it's building on this same thing, that it's all sort of related, from tarot to BQH. It seems like random,
Absolutely.
but it's all the same divine
Yeah.
connection we're tapping into.
Yeah. It's basically your higher self is communicating with you and will use any means that it can find to communicate with you. So, and then, your higher self is connected to everything, and you have all, you have your spirit guides and everybody, it's all the team, you know what I mean? It's like a
Yeah.
team effort.
And
So,
that's
but yeah,
really
that's what that they'll use just random. So, and that, and that's what,
the synchronicities
you,
too, I was going to say.
right. You have to just get woken up to it. And usually it's 111 right now as I like
Oh,
see the
yeah.
number. Because I was going to just say that, like, for me, it was what woke me up was the 1111. I
Yeah.
started seeing 1111
That's so funny. Anytime I talk
all
about
the time.
synchronicity, I look at the clock and it's a synchronistic number, and I'm like, come on. Yeah, I didn't
I
notice
know,
until
that's why I
after
was like, oh, we're just
though.
talking about this and it's 111. I'm like, okay. And I was just about to say how I was seeing 1111 on the clock every day is what initially started to wake me up. I mean, it still took a while, like, but that's what
Hmm.
was the started to be like, wait, something's happening. Something's going on, right? Like, this isn't normal.
Yeah.
Like something's trying to communicate with me or
You
something.
actually
Like, I
found
didn't,
me from the 1111 surprise video, huh?
I did.
That's so
Yes,
funny.
I did. Yeah, Candace Pratt Goldman shared your video, which I don't
Oh, thank you,
never seen her
Candace.
share one of your videos before, I don't think. And so she shared your video, and I'm friends with her on Facebook. And so I clicked on the video, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, look at this guy, he's awesome. But then you're doing
That's
the
awesome.
sessions, and I'm like, I want to have a session, like, because it's funny, I'd been wanting to have a session ever since I learned about it, really, but didn't really actively pursue trying to have one or whatever, because I just didn't. And then, yeah, and then I came across your video, and I'm like, oh, yep, it's time. And he's the one to have it with. And,
And
I
now
just,
we
I
know
just
with
follow
our,
the guidance all the time now. That's how I live my life. It's like, I just wait for things to show up or
yeah,
to be told to do this or do that, or, all right. Like,
yeah,
I don't even understand half of it, what the purpose is or what it's for, but I'll just do it.
yeah. And now with our,
That's how it
both
works.
our,
Because if we all do that, then we're all helping each other, like giving each other messages. Right. And
right. And we have the Jesus connection, I was going to say, like Jesus
right.
is my hero. And,
I didn't even know that about you.
right.
I don't know if you mentioned Jesus in that video at all or anything,
I
but like,
mentioned the scripture, but no, I'm not.
oh yeah, it was this, yeah, it was the
Yeah,
scripture, but I didn't really know, like, I didn't know you had the same kind of connection with Jesus like I did. And so, yeah, it was,
totally.
and then we're joking that Jesus brought us, together, that we were supposed to do the session and
Oh, I
whatever. Like,
totally believe that. Yeah.
yeah. And it was funny. And then it was funny that I didn't anticipate Jesus showing up in the session, but only because I didn't have any expectations of the session at all. Right. Like I
Yeah.
didn't, and I was just like open to whatever, like figured whatever I need to hear would come through. But
And
then
I
when
don't
Jesus showed up,
typically,
and I was like, oh,
and I
that
don't
makes sense.
typically scare or share a scripture in the middle of a session like that, but it came through so strong. You know what I mean? Like, I
And it
mean,
was so right. And I'd never heard that scripture. I did not know about that scripture. I didn't know I didn't never heard that story. Because like I've told you, I didn't, I wasn't really raised in a church. I didn't go to Sunday school. I didn't really like have a lot of reading the Bible and things. So
yeah. And then
I
after
just
that, you researched it, and that's actually the same scripture that goes on to talk about, you know, the faith to move a mountain and all that, right?
yeah. And Jesus flipping the tables is right after that.
Right.
like you said, like, oh, Jesus he was human, and that's
Yeah.
what yeah.
Yeah, he cursed the fig tree, went to the church, and turned a bunch of tables over, and like, yeah, he was having a dramatic day, but it turned into a teaching moment for his
Right.
disciples the next day when they saw what he did to the tree, right?
Yeah. Well, that was the funny thing, because you said when you sent me the email with the scripture, and you said you were the one who pointed out, well, and then right after he cursed the fig tree, he flipped the tables. You said, oh, even Jesus was having a bad day
Right.
or whatever. Like
Yeah.
you're like, and I was like, yeah, that's funny, because, and then then I read it for myself, and Jesus told me what he what he was telling me of the experience of that. Yeah, like that was his lesson of realizing his power and being careful with his words, was because like he cursed that fig tree, but he didn't think it through. Like he didn't think about he was going to kill the tree. And then the next day when they were walking back, they saw the tree was dead.
They're like, hey, Jesus, what gives?
Jesus was like, oh, oops. Oops. And then he's so connected,
right, that he
his
downloaded
internal
a
guidance
lesson.
that they gave him the lesson to tell his followers. So it kind of covered up the like.
Man, that is just how it happens for us now, but you hear those stories, and if you've heard them for so long, you lose that. There's this disconnect, where you feel like, oh, it was just different for Jesus. But no, he was on his path too. That's why he's the way, the truth, and the life, in my opinion, is because he's the role model to follow, to achieve that higher, I don't know, avatar status, if you will,
Right. Yeah. And that was really an interesting insight for me to have too, of that. I mean, he's told me that, he was human. He was fully human, right? So he understands, but that's how he can understand our suffering and what we're going through, because he did experience it himself even. So although he was God in human form, he was still human, so, and humans are by nature imperfect, so I don't like to say like Jesus wasn't perfect, but he was
perfectly imperfect. We're all perfectly imperfect.
Human, and he had to learn some lessons too, right? So
right.
Yeah, so that cursing the fig tree was a lesson for Jesus. So it's funny.
Like your hair loss.
Yep. And then that was a lesson for me too. It's so crazy how I'm just amazed at the synchronicities, and the messages that are coming through now are just a lot more than I used to have.
Awesome. Well, I do really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. I know how tough it is and stuff to get out of the box, but judging by the color that you like there, you're like high heart area. I mean, you've got the heart, you've got the voice, right? And so I have a feeling that, you probably should, I don't know, use your voice more, probably.
Oh, Shane, you're blowing my mind right now. This is what I'm talking about. My life is so wow. Because I was talking to my friend just last night, and she starts talking about me needing to use my voice to help people, and that my voice, she was going on and on about my voice, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like,
yeah, even the frequencies. Yeah.
And now you just said that to me.
Yeah.
So, okay.
It's amazing. Everything's frequency and energy. So
duly noted. I guess I need to use my voice more. But yeah, because she said, well, that's why you had the light language, because
exactly.
you're supposed to use your voice for.
And there's a lot of Christians and people that just love Jesus and stuff that will they won't even understand why they connect, but you've got that Jesus connection thing that they'll resonate with. And this is the time, because the church, like all of my friends, they're all really good people. Anybody I know in the church, you hear about stuff at the very top that is, fishy or whatever. But most of the people I know, that are, my Christian loving family and friends or whatever, are all great people. They're just sort of, they don't see things the same way, but they're not bad people or anything. So I think, and as long as they hear you're cool with Jesus and stuff, most of them are like, I guess you're not too bad. But no, he's my hero,
Well, that's an interesting, you bring up an interesting point for me, is that I don't really fit in anywhere, because, the Christians don't really accept me because I read tarot cards and they have more like that spiritual, borderline, maybe occult kind of a side to me. Mm-hmm. And then the like spiritual people kind of shun me because I love Jesus and I'm Christian. So it's like I'm like in both worlds, right? It's like I'm kind of like in the 0 point of like both of them.
Yeah.
And like bring them together. But I have not found too many people so far that really resonate with who, the entirety of who I am and what I came here to do and stuff. So it's nice to meet you and to talk to you and to
we'll read the comments below this video because you'll realize that you're not alone. We're all like that. And that's why when we had our little meetups and stuff, it was like everybody was just so happy to be able to just speak freely about stuff, And people actually wanted to hear their stories and stuff, It's so I think the time's coming where we're all getting together and we're sharing these stories, and we know we're not crazy. And I know my audience is going to love you because they feel exactly like you do. We're all the same, It's like we're all on this journey of kind of not fitting in. That's where I get the whole unbiased and on the fence thing, because
Yeah.
I'm just kind of watching down in all these cubicles, everybody run their stuff or whatever, but love for all.
Mm-hmm.
But excellent. So I do have your link below. Whole Heart Healing? Is that
Open
right?
heart.
Open Heart.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm horrible for names. Okay,
No,
Open
that's
Heart
right. I
Healing.
am too. I totally get it.
There's so many, and they're all like, they're all so positive, so it's hard to distinguish
I
them.
know they all kind of sound the same. I know.
That's
But
awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, and you guys check out the links below for BQH and for Sarah Walsh's channel, and we will see you on the next one. Lots of love, light, and unity. We'll see you. Mwah.